We've seen those hundreds of people packed into a C-17. We've seen Afghans falling.
That was 4 days ago, 5 days ago.
Yeah, those people. And besides, 4 to 5 days ago, I mean, wasn't that back when Trump was in office? And I'm pretty sure Trump was on the plane pushing those people off. Like, can we get him impeached again or something to get him out of office? Oh, allow me. I'm here with the president today to help clarify his great points and excellent leadership, and to help translate in case he starts speaking Bidenese.
So you don't think this could have been handled, this actually could have been handled better in any way? No mistakes?
No, I don't think it could have been handled in a way that we're going to go back in hindsight and look, but the idea that somehow there's a way to have gotten out without chaos ensuing, I don't know how that happens. I don't know how that happened.
He doesn't know how that happens, clearly. We could have kept a small security force in Afghanistan to help keep the country stable, but then someone wouldn't have a successful withdrawal from Afghanistan on his resume.
Back in July, you said a Taliban takeover was highly unlikely. Was the intelligence wrong, or did you downplay it?
There was no consensus. You go back and look at the intelligence reports. They said that it was more likely to be sometime by the end of the year.
If I may jump in here, technically the Taliban takeover was by the end of the year, but to help us build back better, we're going to choose not to acknowledge that.
You didn't put a timeline out when you said it was highly unlikely. You just said flat out it's highly unlikely the Taliban would take over.
Yeah. Well, the question was whether or not it...
Let me stop you right there, Joe. Pretty good chance whatever you're going to say next isn't going to be what the question was.
Senator McConnell said it was predictable the Taliban was going to take over.
Well, by the end of the year, it said that that was a real possibility. But no one said it was going to take over then.
Yeah, like when McConnell said a Taliban takeover is highly likely by the end of the year, he didn't say by the end of what year, so we just assumed he meant like 2037 or something. He didn't say when. I mean, look, it's like earlier this week, I got into a car accident. I was driving along, looking out the windows at some trees that were suspiciously leaning right, and all of a sudden my wife screams out, "Stop, you're gonna hit someone." And then I rear-ended someone in front of me at a stoplight. But my wife didn't say when to stop, so how would I have known? I mean, for all I know, she could have meant, "Stop, you're gonna hit someone by the end of the year." And yeah, the guy I hit died, but that was 4 or 5 days ago, so I don't care.
When you look at what's happened over the last week, was it a failure of intelligence, planning, execution, or judgment?
Look, I don't think it was a failure. Look, it was a simple choice, George. When the Taliban, let me back it, put it another way.
It always turns out well when he puts it in another way.
When you had the government of Afghanistan, the leader of that government getting in a plane and taking off and going to another country. When you saw the significant collapse of the Afghan troops we had trained, up to 300,000 of them, just leaving their equipment and taking off. That was, that's what happened. That's simply what happened. So the question was...
I have a feeling this isn't going to be what the question was.
In the beginning, the threshold question was...
Wasn't the question, but I'm sure this will be.
Do we commit to leave within the time frame was set? We extended it to September 1st. Or do we put significantly more troops in?
Or we could have done neither and instead been successful by keeping the same amount of troops in the country. So it turns out the question was a dumber question. Instead, we could have asked a better question to get a better answer, but, I mean, look. COVID-19 is tricky business.
But your top military advisors warned against withdrawing on this timeline. They wanted you to keep about 2,500 troops.
No, they didn't. It was split. That wasn't true.
They were split. It's true. The ones who warned them against it only had tactical military experience. They didn't have any critical race theory training, so there was no reason to believe them when they inevitably told him what was definitely going to happen. But on the other side of the split, our more experienced military advisors warned the president that the Taliban is rooted in white supremacy. So he took that information and ran with it.
They didn't tell you that they wanted troops to stay?
No, not in terms of whether we were going to get out in a time frame, all troops.
Well, that's not really a coherent sentence structure at all. Let me translate for you. The question is, did military intelligence advisors advise for troops to stay? And what the president is saying is they didn't advise for troops to stay in terms of getting out, which are two opposite things. So if you use the same logic that Mr. President is, it'd be like saying they didn't advise for water to stay in this jar in terms of getting water out of this jar. Does that help clarify the answer to your question?
So no one told, your military advisors did not tell you, no, we should just keep 2,500 troops. It's been a stable situation for the last several years. We can do that. We can continue to do that.
No, no one said that to me that I can recall.
We're not recalling much these days, George.
Because look, George, there is no good time to leave Afghanistan.
I think you proved that pretty well, to say the least. And therefore, our wokest military generals advised us that the best time to withdraw is at the worst time.
The basic choice is, am I going to send your sons and your daughters to war in Afghanistan in perpetuity?
No, he is not, because he'd rather send your sons and daughters into critical race theory indoctrination in public schools with masks covering their faces all day. Because if your genderless children are white, how else are they going to learn that they're racist and to see themselves as inherently evil? And if your children aren't white, then they're poor. And how would they learn to victimize themselves all the time and learn that they'll never amount to anything because of their skin color? So we couldn't send your kids to Afghanistan.
Why not have everything in place to make sure Americans to get out, to make sure our Afghan allies get out, so we don't have these chaotic scenes in Kabul?
Number one, as you know, the intelligence community did not say back in June or July.
I think we've heard this one before. Let me take it from here, Joe. George, what the president's trying to say is, if he would have taken more time to withdraw properly, then Xi Jinping would have gotten mad at him. Look, here's the deal. When the Communist Party of China wants to move in and extract $3 trillion worth of rare earth minerals from Afghanistan, they can't do that with us there. The optics wouldn't look good. It would look like Joe's taking orders from the Chinese Communist Party. So instead, when they order him to withdraw all the troops now, he happily does that, endangering tens of thousands of American lives and Afghani lives, but he does it so it doesn't appear as though he's taking orders from China. So, perfectly good explanation.
All troops are supposed to be out by August 31st. Even if Americans and our Afghan allies are still trying to get out, they're going to leave?
We're going to do everything in our power to get all Americans out and our allies out.
Sounds like a yes. We'll be happy to leave them. But if they're fully vaccinated like they should be, they'll probably be very well protected against the murderous Taliban. And I think at this point, Joe has done a very good job of answering all your questions in a way that pleases his handlers. And being the most popular president in U.S. history, Joe's a very strategic thinker. In fact, in an almost psychic way, he predicted all of this. Joe, do you remember when you did that? In fact, can we show them the footage? Okay, roll the footage from July.
Do you see any parallels between this withdrawal and what happened in Vietnam with some people feeling...
None whatsoever. Zero. What you had entire brigades breaking through the gates of our embassy. 6, if I'm not mistaken. The Taliban is not the North Vietnamese army. They're not remotely comparable in terms of capability. There's going to be no circumstance where you see people being lifted off the roof of a embassy of the United States from Afghanistan.
It's like looking in a crystal ball, right, Joe? The only part he got wrong was that people did have to get lifted off the roof of the U.S. Embassy in Afghanistan, which was exactly like Saigon. Oh, and you also forgot to mention that unlike Saigon, this time people would be falling from the outside of planes because they were so desperate to escape. So aside from what he said, everything in his July statement was accurate.
And
you're welcome for such a job well done in Afghanistan. Well, Joe's got to get back to vacation now. Do you want to get some ice cream for the plane? Oh, before you go, just one more thing. I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Blood Sugar Breakthrough by Bioptimizers. If you like to feel like crap and function like crap and look like crap, then ideally you'll have unstable blood sugar levels throughout the day. So do not get Blood Sugar Breakthrough. But If you like to be a rebel and like feel great, have good energy, consistent energy throughout the day, you like to have good clarity of thought without brain fog, and you like to have good metabolic function so you look good and are actually healthy, then Blood Sugar Breakthrough is for you. Because the key to looking and feeling great, having good mental function, consistent energy throughout the day, is actually having good stable blood sugar levels. It's also vital for long-term health. It's one of the reasons why I love Blood Sugar Breakthrough. It lets my swimming career thrive. And it's made with all natural nutrients that are designed to stabilize your blood sugar easily and naturally. You just take 2 capsules before a meal, and it also helps reduce inflammation in your system, which is something I enjoy. So if you want to join me in feeling and functioning better using Blood Sugar Breakthrough to stabilize your blood sugar levels, then go to bloodsugarbreakthrough.health/JP20. And be sure to use the discount code. You remember the discount code?
AWJP.
AWJP to get a good deal. Thank you, Blood Sugar Breakthrough.